You've probably eaten Asian food before. Maybe Chinese, maybe Japanese, maybe Thai, maybe Korean. You think you know what to expect. Then you try Filipino food. And something feels different. Not bad. Not strange. Just unexpected. The flavors don't land where you thought they would. The balance feels unfamiliar. The dishes don't fit neatly into the idea of Asian food you already have in your head. And you pause, because Filipino food doesn't taste like the rest of Asia. So today, let's talk about why, not in a complicated way, not with heavy food terms, just a simple human explanation. Because once you understand it, Filipino food starts to make sense in a deeper way. Let's start with geography. The Philippines is not one land. It's thousands of islands, separated, scattered, surrounded by water. For a long time, many Filipino communities were isolated from each other. Ingredients were local. Cooking was practical. Recipes were shaped by what was nearby, not by what was trending. This already makes Filipino food different. While many Asian cuisines developed around large connected landmasses, Filipino food grew in pockets. Village by village. Family by family. That means flavors didn't standardize. They personalized. That's why the same dish can taste different in different homes. And that's why Filipino food doesn't follow one strict flavor rule. Now let's talk about balance. In many Asian cuisines, there is a clear structure. Spicy, savory, umami, clean, sharp. Filipino food doesn't separate flavors. It layers and salty together, sour and rich in the same bite. Sometimes even all three at once. To someone new, this can feel confusing, but to someone who understands it, it feels comforting. Because life is not separated. Emotions are not clean. Memories are mixed. Filipino food reflects that. Take adobo. It's salty. It's sour. It's rich. It's gentle. It doesn't hit you all at once. It stays with you. It's not meant to shock. It's meant to sit beside you. That's very different from food designed to impress quickly. Now think about sinigang. It's sour, yes, but it's also soft, warm, calming. The sourness doesn't attack. It soothes. Many people expect Asian soups to be spicy or heavily seasoned. Sinigang surprises them. It feels like something made for recovery, for rest, for quiet days. That difference matters. Now let's talk about history. Filipino food was shaped by many influences, but instead of copying them, it absorbed them. Chinese techniques, Spanish ingredients, local traditions, island cooking. Instead of becoming one thing, Filipino food became a blend, but not a polished blend, a lived-in blend. Recipes were adapted to homes, to budgets, to availability. That's why Filipino food feels homemade even in restaurants. It was never designed for presentation first. It was designed for people. Now let's talk about rice. In many Asian cuisines, rice is important. In Filipino culture, rice is essential. Meals don't feel complete without it. Dishes are built to be eaten with it. Flavors are meant to sit on it. That changes everything. Filipino food is not meant to stand alone. It's meant to be shared with rice, with others, with conversation. That's why flavors feel gentler when eaten properly. They're not meant to be isolated. This is something many first-time eaters miss. They taste the dish alone, and they don't feel the balance. But when they eat it the Filipino way, something clicks. Now let's talk about sweetness. Filipino food is often sweeter than people expect. Even savory dishes can have a hint of sweetness. This surprises many people, but that sweetness comes from celebration, from joy, from resilience. Sugar was once rare, then it became symbolic, something added to mark good moments. Over time, that sweetness stayed, not to impress, but to comfort. And when people from other cultures taste that sweetness, it reminds them of home food, of childhood, of meals cooked with care. Now let's talk about home cooking. Filipino food is deeply rooted in homes, not restaurants. Many famous dishes were never meant to be sold. They were meant to be shared. That's why measurements are loose. That's why recipes change. That's why no one tells you you're doing it wrong. This creates food that feels forgiving. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to care. That philosophy is rare in modern food culture, and people feel it when they eat Filipino food. Now let's talk about first reactions. Many people don't fall in love with Filipino food at first bite. They grow into it. They understand it slowly. They revisit it. They start craving it. Because Filipino food doesn't chase your attention, it earns your trust. And once that trust is built, it stays. That's why Filipino food doesn't dominate trends, but it builds loyalty. Now let's talk about why this difference matters. In a world where many cuisines are competing to be bold, loud, and unforgettable, Filipino food chooses something else. It chooses comfort. It chooses familiarity. It chooses presence. It doesn't want to shock you. It wants to sit with you. And that's why it tastes different. Because it wasn't built to impress strangers. It was built to feed families. And when the world finally tastes it, they feel that intention. That's also why Filipino food feels personal. Even when you didn't grow up with it, it feels like something made for someone, not for an audience. Now let's connect this back to something important. In the last video, we talked about why Filipino food feels like home to the world. This is the other side of that story. Filipino food tastes different because it comes from a different purpose. Not competition, not presentation, not perfection, but care. And when food is built on care, it doesn't need to fit in. It stands on its own. That's why Filipino food doesn't try to be like the rest of Asia. It doesn't need to. It already knows what it is. And maybe that's why more people are discovering it now. Because the world is tired of food that only looks good. People want food that feels real. And Filipino food has always been real. Quietly, patiently, honestly. If this video helped you understand Filipino food in a new way, take a moment to like it. It tells YouTube this story matters. And if you enjoy calm, meaningful documentaries about food, culture, and the Philippines, subscribe to the channel. More stories are coming. Stories that don't rush. Stories that stay with you. Just like Filipino food.